Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this special lecture on the lab experiments. Normally, of course, we would be doing labs in the laboratories, but because of the coronavirus limitations, restrictions, everything is going online. I have told you earlier when we were beginning the course that this to me is a big source of worry. We are engineers, and engineers are supposed to be very practical in nature, and at least these lab experiments, when you are actually in the lab, when you are doing things with your hands or communicating with the lab engineer while somebody is doing it for you, and you see and observe all the steps, and you handle the real material in your hand and the real machines and so on, then at least to some extent you become an engineer for a little while. But when everything is online, then of course you see, there are hundreds and thousands of videos on YouTube and other places describing different things. So that can be accessed anytime. So I am not really satisfied with the way the things are, but my satisfaction does not matter much. The restrictions are there, and they are there for a very good reason. Your health is of prime importance. So the lab experiments are online. Videos and data, all lab videos and results and data from each of the labs are available through the web link that I have sent to you by email already. And I really want to express a lot of thanks to engineer Saeed Al-Mugheri, who is the lab engineer in charge of the properties of materials lab, for all his hard work, because you see, they took the whole video equipment and so on, and they performed each experiment completely without you, step by step, and they initially did it without voice, but then when we suggested, then they redid all of them with voice over, showing you all the samples, all the machines, the work, and so on. Because these videos are large, they are full quality videos, so they are on his Google Drive, and I have sent you the link. Also on the same place, in the same link, the videos are there, and then the experimental data, because we explained to you here how the experiments are conducted, but we assume that now we are conducting the experiments for you. So for experiment 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on, these are the actual data. So the data files are also there, either as Word files or as Excel files and so on, and from those data files you will write your lab reports. For submission of lab reports, the instructions are posted on Moodle also. There should be 5 students per group, as I told you earlier, unless there is a special permission from me for something special. There should be 1 report per lab per group. So each group of 5 students will submit 4 lab reports, because there are 4 labs. So the whole group writes 1 lab report, right? And 1 lab is done. Then you write, so right, 1 report per lab per group. And because you have to upload it on Moodle, later on I will access it. So the file name is important, lab number, right, lab 1, the ID number of anybody who is your team leader in the group, and the first name of that person, right? So lab number, ID number, first name. Like this, then I can easily distinguish, because if you just upload any files without these numbers and I have to really dig into them and so on, then you will lose some marks, because you should know how to organize your work and so on. Guidelines for writing lab reports in the lab manual that we post on the Moodle. These guidelines are also there, but I am summarizing some important things. Please read the lab manual carefully and follow all instructions. Each student group should work independently on the lab assignments. Copied reports will be given 0 grade. So please be very careful. Be very careful that in your group, yes, you write report 1, report 2, report 3, and you can arrange any way you like. One of you writes the report for first one, the other one writes this, or you divide the work between you. But if the report of one group is almost a copy of the report of the other group, then you get a 0 grade. There is no complaints about it, right? We want you to really do it yourself. Preferably, report should be typewritten. I mean, handwritten reports can be there, but they are very difficult to do. If you are typing the report, then any mistakes that you do, the editing, correcting, everything is very easy. And you can include any pictures, diagrams, whatever you like, isn't it? Each lab report should contain the following sections. There should be a cover page. On the cover page, the course name and the course number, the semester and the section, experiment number and title of the experiment, and the names and IDs of all the students in that group. This is your cover page. Then objectives. What are the objectives of this lab? What is the introduction? Write an introduction from the course, from internet, from the book, from the lecture notes, wherever you like it. Write an introduction of this lab. Apparatus and materials. What are the machines and equipment and tools that you use, and what were the materials that you used in this experiment? Procedure. Step by step, step 1, step 2, step 3, you have to carefully watch the video and see what are the steps of doing this particular lab. Then results and discussion. We will explain to you in each lab that there are some results that you want to have. So some results are in a table format, some results may be in a graph format. So those are the results, and then a discussion of the results. That are the graphs that you are getting, do they make a scientific sense? Is there some chance of error? What are the other things, and so on. And in the end, a small paragraph or so about the conclusions, that what did you did and what did you learn? What did you do and what did you learn? Right? So these are the general guidelines. Experiment 1 is mechanical testing, tensile properties. The objectives is a typical tensile test, conversion of load versus extension data from the machine into a stress strain graph. When you do a standard tensile test from the machine, you get load against deformation or elongation or extension, whatever you call it. And from there, using the original area and the original length, you convert it into a stress strain graph. That is how you generally do it. And then if that data is available and graph is available, then from the graph, extraction of tensile properties, elastic or Young's modulus, yield strength or 0.2% yield strength, depends on how the graph was, ultimate tensile strength, fracture strength or breaking strength, ductility in percent elongation or percent area reduction, true stress and true strain at fracture, right? So normally you would do the tensile test, but we know that in a later course on solid mechanics, we again do this experiment in the solid mechanics lab. So right now we are doing the experiment for you and directly giving you the graphs. We are not doing the experiment with you this time, we are directly doing the graph. So for experiment 1, there will be basically no major video, because the actual tensile test will be done in a later course. We do not want to repeat it. You know from your course and videos and so on how a tensile test is done. So here the graphs are there, 2 graphs are given, and from the graph just find these values. Just find. Under apparatus and materials, list the various types of equipment, machine, tools used in the experiment and the materials on which you tested. And procedure, write the step-by-step procedure used in a standard tensile test. Then you have the results and discussion part. Use the given stress strain graphs. You see, directly here we are giving you the stress strain graphs. You don't have to do anything. It is not that we are giving you machine data and you have to convert it into graphs. We have already done that for you. So we are giving you 2 stress strain graphs. So from the graphs, either extract or calculate the values. On the graph, whatever points are used, mark those points, that this is the point for yield strength, this is the point for ultimate strength, this is the point for fracture strength, and so on. And we are showing you graphs of 2 specimens. One is an aluminum alloy, 6082 T6 aluminum alloy, and the other is a medium carbon steel. You can always enlarge the graph for better accuracy. You are seeing a graph, you enlarge it and you can have the values more clearly. Then in the discussion part, compare your results of mechanical properties with published properties of the corresponding material. From the internet, find that for aluminum alloys, especially if you can find 6082 aluminum alloy, what is some standard graphs of stress strain for this aluminum alloy from the internet. Similarly, a medium carbon steel from internet and so on, what is a general stress strain graph? So compare the results of your experiment from the internet available thing, right? So, right, you can refer to any material science or mechanics of materials textbook for further details and so on. So this is important that we have done the work. You tabulate the values, you extract the values, you do this, and then in the end you compare that, compared to standard medium carbon steel, compared to standard aluminum alloy, are your results very high, very low, they are roughly the same. And always discuss what are the sources of error, that this is an experiment, so can we go wrong somewhere? What are the sources of error? So I'm just showing you the table that is there in the manual, that modulus of elasticity, yield strength, ultimate strength, fracture stress, ductility, true stress at fracture, true strain at fracture. What equations are you using for calculations, or are you directly reading the value from the graph? Write it here. And what are your results, right? And there will be one table for one material and one table for the other material, right? There will be two tables because we are giving you graphs for two materials. I am copying here the two graphs that are there in the manual. One graph is this one and the other graph is this one. And in the manual they are much more clear because I copied and pasted here from the manual, but they are directly from the manual. So from this graph, find all the values and put in the table. For this graph, find all the values and put in the table. If some values are directly read from the graph, directly write it. If you need some formula to do it, then write the formula of how you are doing it. So this was experiment 1. Experiment 1, we don't actually do the tensile experiment, but we have done it for you. For example, we are not showing you the machine data. We have already converted all the machine data to stress strain graphs for an aluminum alloy and for a steel, and you just have to get the values from there. Second experiment is cold working and hardness testing. Combination of two things, cold working and hardness testing. So therefore I am saying 2A is cold working of brass plates. Normally, because brass is relatively less costly and it is softer, so it is easier to do cold working on this compared to steel. Objectives: deform the given brass plates by cold rolling to different percentages, 10% cold work, 20% cold work, whatever, and then to find the relationship between cold rolling and hardness. These are the objectives. Apparatus and materials: list the various types of equipment, machines, tools used in this experiment and the materials tested. You will find the details of this through the video that engineer Saeed Al-Mugheri has done for you for cold working and hardness, so you can describe the machines and so on. In the procedure, right, same thing, write the step-by-step procedure used in a standard, not tensile test, in a standard cold working test. Sorry for my typing mistake. In the results, calculate the percent cold work, tabulate, make a table of the results, percent cold work and hardness, sketch a graph between percent cold work and hardness, right? In B, we will tell you about the hardness. So you have done the cold working and you will be doing the hardness, and then you will be doing this combination, that for 10% cold work, what was the hardness? For original material, what was the hardness? For 20% cold work, what was the hardness? So you write this in a table and make a graph of, on one side you have hardness, on the other side you have cold work, percent cold work. Discussion of results: discuss the behavior pattern of cold work and hardness. Is the graph a rising graph? Does it make sense? Is it a decreasing graph? Does it make sense? Justify the results in comparison with theory. You have done the theory for cold working and so on, and comment on any notable results or deviations, right? So this is always there, that make a comment, that are your results making scientific sense, or are there some possible errors, and what could be the errors and so on. So that we should always do.